Good morning, children. Today we are going to start a new topic. Before that, I want to ask you a small question that when I'll give you a glass of water, for example, I'd given 3 glasses of waters in 3 different glasses. For example, one glass contains water which is boiled and the other glass contains the water has been collected from the tap directly, which is not boiled, and the other bottle contains water which is collected from the sea. Now children, which water you would like to prefer to drink? Boiled water or the water which is collected from the tap or which is being collected from the seas? Yes, you like to prefer to drink water which has been boiled. Why you won't prefer to drink the water which has been collected from the rivers or from the tap water directly? Why? Because this may contains microorganisms. Very good. So in this module you are going to study about a new topic. Our topic is microorganisms. That is, in this module you are going to learn what are microorganisms, what are the types of microorganisms, where they live. So first, do you know what are microorganisms? Are they tiny pores, or how can we see them? Yes, the organisms which cannot be seen with our naked eye are called microorganisms. Can we see these microorganisms in the water and with our eyes? No, we cannot see those microorganisms with our naked eye. The organisms which cannot be very minute, they are very minute, which cannot be seen with our naked eye, those are called microorganisms. The study of these microorganisms, the branch of science that deals with the study of these all microorganisms, about the morphology, about the characteristics, how do they function and where they will lie, everything they study by a department known as microbiology. What is in the microbiology, children? The branch of science that deals with the study of microorganisms is called microbiology. Do we find these microorganisms are unicellular or multicellular? It may depends. See, some of the microorganisms may be the unicellular, some are multicellular microorganisms. Got it clear, children? What are microorganisms? They are very minute, which cannot be seen with our naked eye. How can we see them? We have to use microscopes. Where do these microorganisms live? Let us know about it clearly. For this we need to do a small activity, that collect some moist soil from the field in the beaker and add to a water to it. After the soil particles have settled down, observe a drop of water from the beaker under a microscope. What will happen? We have to take a few drops of water from a pond and spread a glass slide. What is my glass slide? We'll be using to find out whether this has a specimens to keep it out on it. We'll be using these glass slides, okay, and observe through a microscopes. What do we observe in this case, children? We observe that microorganisms in these 2 slides. For example, if you talk about, if you'll be doing this activity, after doing, what do we come to know? We'll come to know clearly that the microorganisms can be found everywhere. Most of them are found everywhere. Let us talk about the classification of microorganisms. Here the microorganisms are classified into further groups, that is bacteria, fungi, protozoa and algae. Now here viruses are also a microscopic but are different from other microorganisms. That is, they are also belongs to virus, also belongs to the category of microorganisms. But here when you talk about the viruses, they reproduce only inside the cells of the host organisms, which may be bacterium or plant or animal. Understand, children? So here, how many types of microorganisms, with classification of microorganisms? We had seen that they are classified into different groups. What are those, children? That is bacteria, fungi and protozoa and algae, where we come to know clearly that the viruses are also a microscopic organisms from other, but they are different group. Why? Because they reproduce only inside the living cells or of the host cells, which may be bacterium or plant cells. Now first talk about bacteria. If you see the structure of bacteria are simplest and most abundant of the microorganisms are present in it, and abundant of all the microbes, means bacteria are belonging to the mostly they will be found everywhere, and here they are considered to be a singly, they are known as bacterium. They are unicellular. What is unicellular? Which means single cells, and prokaryotics. Here the size, the bacterial cell varies from 0.2 to 100 micrometers or microns in size. The size of these bacteria are all almost 0.2 to 100 micrometers. Here they are found in different shapes. One is round shaped, known as coccus, streptococcus. They belong to the family of coccus, which gives an example is streptococcus. And there may be in rod shaped also. For example, lactobacillus, and spiral shaped bacteria also will be finding like spiralium minus, and coma shaped also, vibrio, etc. are the types of bacteria. So here, on what basis they are classified, children? The bacteria are classified on the basis of their shapes. How many groups? Into 4. What are those? Round shaped bacteria, rod shaped bacteria, spiral shaped bacteria, as well as coma shaped bacteria. We had learned about it clearly about the bacteria, and they are known as bacterium. In singular form we call it as bacterium. Now let us talk about other bacteria, that is fungi. If you talk about the fungi, what you will be seeing this most probably on the bread molds also it happens. These are the microbes. What is in my fungi? Let us know about it clearly. First, these are the microbes which lack chlorophyll, so they cannot prepare their own food. How they can prepare their own food? They depend on other plants and animals for food. Some fungi lives on the dead and decaying matter of organic matter, so they are parasitic. Parasitic means what? Those organisms which depends on the dead decaying matter, they are considered to be an parasitic organisms. Here the fungi are known as parasitic. Why? Because they depend on the dead decaying matter. So where do we find this bacteria, that is fungi? We will found mostly in the dark and damp places. Okay, whereas in the case of bacteria, like same here, fungi may be in unicellular or they may be in multicellular. Got it clear, children? We come to know that these are the only the microorganisms which are lack of chlorophyll, where they cannot prepare their own food. They depend on others for their food. What do we call for those microorganisms? They are called parasitic microorganisms. Where do you find these, children? Very good. They are found in dark and damp places. Examples we had seen that fungi, like we will be seeing in the bread molds, right? Got it clear, children? Now let us talk about other microorganisms. That is about we will be studying about protozoa. First, as we know that protozoa, when we talk about the size ranges, what is the size of these protozoas? Means they will be 2 to 200 microns. Even these all, they are mostly like to be an unicellular microorganisms, means they contain single cell only. These are mostly aquatic. They are found in the fresh water as well as marine water, in the soil, on decaying plants, and as well as animal waste, and even in the bodies of other organisms also. So what are the protozoas? They are mostly all the protozoas, not mostly, all the protozoas are unicellular microorganisms. What is the size of it? It may ranges from 2 to 200 microorganisms. Where do you find? They are mostly aquatic. They are found in the fresh water as well as marine water, in the soil, and even the decaying plants and animal waste in the in the bodies of other organisms. Normally they'll reproduce by binary fission. What is by binary fission? It is nothing but the splitting of microorganisms into 2 equal halves. Okay, like example, like amoeba, if you see, they will divide into 2 groups, and here you can say, take an example of protozoa, even they splits into 2 equal halves. They are reproduced by binary fission. Most of these are heterotropics, and except Euglena, which has chlorophyll, they are all heterotropic. Why they are considering as heterotropic? Why? Because they can contain chlorophyll, where they can prepare their own food. Whereas in Euglena, they don't have chlorophyll. That is the reason there is an assumption that except Euglena, all they are heterotrophic. Got it clear, children? Now we'll talk about other microorganisms, that is about viruses. If you see there, they are submicroscopic and grow and multiply inside a living cell only. They do not show any signs of life outside of the living cells. They cannot grow outside of the living cells. They can be grown inside a living cells only. What does it mean? We can be seen that these microorganisms can multiply and grow only inside the living cell. If they are shown outside, they cannot grow. Virus can infect even bacteria also. Viruses use the materials of their host cells to grow and multiply. Means it will too, in order to grow and to develop, they uses the host materials, okay, to grow. What is the size of this microorganisms virus? Means it may ranges from 0.015 microns to 0.2 microns. So what is the size of these viruses? It may ranges from 0.051 to 15 to 0.2 microns. How can we see these are minute microorganisms, right? How can we see? They can be seen only through the electron microscope. Not only here, we cannot use this general microscope. We need to use electron microscope in order to see this type of viruses, because they are very minute, small in size. Children, in the last class we had discussed about clearly what is in the microorganisms. That is, we had learned that microorganisms are nothing but which cannot be seen with our naked eye. They are very smaller in size. And we had discussed about the types of microorganisms, that is about bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungi, etc. Now in this module you are going to learn about how microorganisms helps in improving the soil fertility and uses of the yeast, and what is the use of these microorganisms in commercial way, and what is the use of the medicinal use of these microorganisms, and how these microorganisms helps in cleaning. First, let us talk about increasing the soil fertility. Here, bacteria and fungi decompose the dead and organic matter like dung, straws, as well as grass. So thus they enable the nutrients in the dead and decaying organic matters to get back into the soil. This not only prevents the accumulation of dead organic matter in the soil, but also increase the soil fertility. So here first, when we'll talk about the bacteria, you know that they are called as decomposers, and they are called, what is the use of this bacteria and fungi, why they are considered as decomposers? Because they eat all the waste material, dead decaying matter. What they are doing here they are cleaning the environment by eating all the dead decaying matter. Not only that, they'll increase the soil fertility by providing the humus to the soil. So these helps done by what here? It is done by the bacteria and fungi. So these are the usefulness of bacteria only. Because of microorganisms it happens. If it not happens, what will happen? It may leads to an accumulation of dead decaying matter of all the animals, died plants and animals. What will happen? One day you will face a lot of problems, and there is a possibility of high development of high usage of the microbes and everything. What will happen? It may present all over the world. Will be finding all the dead decaying matter. You will face a false myths. That is the reason it may not happen, but it is not happening because the bacteria and fungi decompose this matter and consume it, and they'll make the soil fertility. Plants such as bean, peas and soya beans belonging to the leguminous family have swollen parts in the root nodules called nodules. Here different species of Rhizobium bacterium lives in this swelling and convert the nitrogen into an ammonia. This process is called nitrogen fixations. What will happen? This helps us to make the soil rich in the nitrogen components which are essential for the growth of plants. So when you talk about the plants such as peas and beans and soya beans, they belong to the leguminous family, right? What will happen in this case means they have root nodules which are swollen part. Why they are swollen? It contains the nitrogen fixing bacteria, that is Rhizobium bacteria. What will happen with this Rhizobium bacteria? In this they live in the nodules. What they'll do? They'll convert the nitrogen into an ammonia. What do we call for this process? This process is called nitrogen fixation. As we know that plants also needs nitrogen in order to make the food materials like proteins, other than that vitamins and everything in the plants, other than the carbohydrates. In order to synthesize, there is a need of nitrogen, but it is available in the atmosphere 78%, which is in the gaseous form, which cannot be utilized directly by the plants. In order to use it, what they'll do, it has to be converted into a simple compounds. How it is converting here, children? It is being converted by a bacterium called Rhizobium. What is doing here? It is helping to convert the nitrogen into simpler form by the process known as nitrogen fixation, which will help for the growth of plants. So if there is no Rhizobium bacteria, is it possible to convert the nitrogen into insoluble forms? No. So in order to develop, in order to convert this nitrogen into soluble form, there is a major role is of Rhizobium bacterium only. If these are not available, it cannot be takes place. So these are the uses. Not only here, it will make the soil fertile, and it will makes it nitrogen fixation also. Got it clear, children? How it will takes place? Now we'll be talking about, we'll see a small video over here. As we know that nitrogen is one of the 3 very important nutrients that plants require. The other 2 are potassium and phosphorus. Today we'll focus on nitrogen only. Okay, children, listen carefully. Nitrogen plays a big role in the plant's growth. How? As it is a part of chlorophyll and the amino acids which makes proteins. You may get how it happens. The problem is that the nitrogen in the soil is limited. So when the plant uses all the available nitrogen, it will be finished. But as we know that what nitrogen is abundant, present in the atmosphere, which is in the gaseous form, which is highly inert. Because of it is so inert that these plants cannot use this type of nitrogen found in the air. To find out how the plants get nitrogen, we need to know it. We need to go under the ground. For example, as we know that nitrogen gases are available in the atmosphere, it can be penetrate deep into the soil. That is, it can diffuses into the soil. When it diffuses, we know that there are some plants like they cannot use this directly. So what will happen? These plants contains bacteria called Rhizobium bacteria, which is present in the pea plants, soya beans. What will happen? These bacteria converts the nitrogen into a simpler form known as ammonia. Okay, which can be taken in the form of, this form is called ammonia. As I said, these plants can take it up and use it for various functions, and this process is continuous to repeat itself. There will be continuous to take place. To truly understand the intricacies of this process, we need to look even closer at the roots of these plants. We need to look at the closure to the plants. The plant releases chemical called chemoattractants that attracts the right amount of nitrogens. The rhizobium come running to each. What will happen in this case? There is a presence of Rhizobium bacteria. Once attracted, the bacteria attached to the root nodules of the plants. These bacteria are attached to the root nodules. So that what will happen? The attached bacteria send NOD factors. Much like this, what will happen? They will be convert this microbiome bacteria into a simpler form, as you can see here. Where there is a first, what is happening? The bacteria is get attracted in towards the soil and towards the root nodules of the plants. What will happen? This bacteria will convert the nitrogen gases into a simpler form, and this can be transported directly to the plants in a simpler forms, and this process will take place by the help of nitrogen bacteria only. Do you know what is the use of this yeast? Yeast is a bacteria. Yes, it is used in the bakeries to make the bread, right? And when it is added to the dough, it produces carbon dioxide, which makes the dough rise. Means it is used to bread making also. The bread made from the dough is so soft and fluffy due to the gas present in it. Yeast also used to make dokla and light and as well as fluffy. Idli and dosha are made. You like to eat the idli and doshas, right? By grinding the rice and pulses to fine paste. The mixture is allowed to stand for a few hours. What will happen when you'll keep it for a few hours? These like pulses and fine paste, what will happen? Fermentation process will take place due to the bacteria present in these mixtures. This bacteria will helps in the fermentation process to carry out and helps to form an food materials. Now some bacteria break down the lactose milk sugar to form a lactic acid, which makes the milk to sour. Okay, this lactic acid contains casein, a protein present in the milk. What will happen? The little curd you and added has bacteria contains lactobacillus. This bacteria grow on the warm and cold climates. What will happen due to that? This lactobacillus will convert this bacteria into an used forms. Even this lactobacillus bacteria also used to make pickles and cheese. So overall we can say that lactobacillus bacteria used to form the curd. Okay, rather than that it is also used to make cheese and pickles. Now let us talk about what is the commercial use of this microorganisms, how these microorganisms use in commercial way. So here fermentation, what does it mean? What do we mean by fermentation? As we studied just now, it is a process of breaking down of substances by the activity of fungi and bacteria, usually leading to the production of carbon dioxide and alcohol. Alcohol is made by what here, children? By the fermentation of sugar using yeast. Here yeast plays a major role in order to form an alcohol by the process called fermentation. So yeast is used to ferment sugars in grapes to make the wine also. Sugar in rice and barley are fermented to produce beer. Louis Pasteur discovered the fermentation process in the 1857. In the year of 1857, the fermentation process has been come to know by the great scientist known as Louis Pasteur. Okay, let us do a small activity to understand clearly it. First thing is that we have to measure and pour 8 ounces of very warm water into an each 1 liter bottle. Okay, here you have to take a equal amount of water and you have to pour it into the every liter bottle. For example, 1 2 3 4 bottles are there. Okay, water must be between, add 1 packet of yeast to each of the 1 liter and add 3 spoons of teaspoons of sugars for each bottle in the amount shown below. Okay, got it clear? You have to add a sugars and as well as yeast as shown in the video. After adding this sugar, we have to wait for a while. Okay, as you can see, we need to add a sugar and then after that we have to cap each bottle and shake them up well. You have to shake it well. Remove the caps and stretch the mouth of the balloon over it. What will happen over the mouth of each bottle? Okay, you have to place a balloons over the mouth. Let the bottle sit for several hours. You have to keep it for several hours. What do you observe here? You will see that there is an expandation of balloon in the case of third and not in the first. Second is less and very less in this. Now let us talk about what is the use of these microorganisms in medicinally. So when you fall ill, the doctor may give you what here? They'll give you antibiotic tablets and capsules or injections such as penicillin. The source of this medicine is microorganisms only. The medicine kills or stops the growth of this disease causing microorganisms. Such medicines are called antibiotics. What is by antibiotics means? The microorganisms which medicines which kills the growth of microorganisms. So antibodies are given even mixed with the feed of livestock and poultry to check microbial infection in animals. They are also used to control the many plants diseases. Okay, and here antibiotics should be taken only on the advice of the doctors only. You have to take in such a way that when there is an advice given by the doctor only. So these are the uses of microorganisms in medicinally. So we come to know that the usage of microorganisms in commercial way. Now let us talk about how these microorganisms are useful in the cleaning the environment. In order to know it, we need to do a small activity. You need to take two pots. One contains the plants waste and the other pot contains the plastic toys as well as empty glass bottles as well as polythene bags. Put them aside for a while. What will happen? We observe that the plant waste in a pot bin has been decomposed, whereas this plant waste is converted into an manure by the action of what, children? Yes, very good. It is been done by microorganisms. So the nutrients released in this process can be used by the plants again. Whereas in the case of pot B, there is no change. Why? The microbes could not act on them and convert them into a manure because it is a non-biodegradable substances. So got it clear, children? It also helps in the cleaning the environment. So we can clearly come to know that there are the useful uses of the microorganisms, and they are used in our day-to-day life very highly.